which would, we talked about the empires that we faced, the Greek Empire, after the Persian Empire, after the Babylonian Empire, after the Assyrian Empire, after the Davidic and Solomonic empires. And so I shared with the group some maps, but I didn't turn on the camera for that because I didn't have the maps to show you. So we're going to continue talking about Hanukkah from the book, from chapter 11 in the Pnei Halacha. We're up to, yeah, that's right. We covered that we say Al Hanisim every day, we say Halal every day. We prohibited, we actually, the truth is we pretty much finished chapter 11. We said that we do we have festive meals?
No.
We don't have to. We can and we do, but we don't have to. It's not an obligation. Why? Who remembers why?
Because this is given by the rabbis.
Why?
Because it's a spiritual.
It was a spiritual victory. The battle was a spiritual one, and so the rabbis denoted it by lighting candles, not by eating food. Eating food is for a physical, material challenge, like Purim. Exactly. This was the Levush famous explanation. So yeah, we're going to start chapter 12. Chapter 12, the details of the central mitzvah of Hanukkah, which is of course to light the candles. We mentioned all the others. What other elements of Hanukkah did we mention? Other than lighting the candles? What do we do on Hanukkah? Hallel. Excuse me. Al Hanisim, correct? What else? Reading of the Torah every day, good. And that we don't fast. We don't have eulogies. Of course, there's customs like dreidel and sufganiyot. How can you forget those customs? Tzedakah. This he didn't mention. It's interesting. I wonder why. That's right. There's even a custom. I wonder if he brings it here. I'm surprised he didn't yet. I would have put it in that chapter, covering all the customs. It's in Yiddish called Hanukkah Gelt. I think this became a stronger custom in more recent times when the Jews were living in Christian countries, and every winter there's an equivalent holiday for the surrounding culture. You know what I'm talking about, where everybody gets gifts. So they didn't want the little Jewish kids to feel left out. Shlach Manot is for Purim. That's Purim. On Hanukkah, there's no tradition of gifts. But what I'm explaining now is that maybe the custom to give gifts on Hanukkah came because all the Christians were giving Christmas presents. And why should the Jews feel jealous? And so it became common that we give gifts on Hanukkah. But really, the most ancient form of gift giving on Hanukkah is Hanukkah Gelt. Gelt means money. Hanukkah money, coins. What does that have to do with anything? So there is an explanation. There is some giving tzedakah, of course. You give tzedakah, do mitzvot, of course. Teach them. The whole idea of Hanukkah is to preserve our culture, our tradition. Mitzvah, tzedakah is very, very basic to being a good Jew, but even a little more connection. Every day you should give tzedakah for sure. But why Hanukkah in particular? There's a phrase in the Talmud, it's fascinating. There's so much depth in our tradition. It says, when you light the Hanukkah candles, what do with the Hanukkah candles?
We say 3 brachot.
You say 3 brachot. What else do you do?
You look at the light.
You look at them. What else do you do?
You sit for...
Do you look at your fingernails?
No.
Why not?
No.
Why not?
It's not a separation.
Also, it's not a separation. It's not a separation, but more primarily, you're not allowed to use. Exactly. You can't use it. You can't use it.
For memory. We just
remember. To show it.
That's right. It's to show, to signify The truth is, in the prayers we say, I'll show you the prayers soon. We're going to cover the prayers in detail. And what we say we're not allowed to use these candles. We call them kodesh. What's kodesh?
Set up holy.
Holy. What is holy associated with?
With using it for something.
Beit
Mikdash.
Beit Mikdash, same word, right? Holiness, Beit Mikdash, the house of holiness. We lit a menorah in the Beit Mikdash. Were you allowed to use the lights in the menorah?
No.
You can't use anything from the Beit Mikdash. It's holy. It's stealing. It's a special prohibition from stealing from the holy. If you had a holy animal that was brought as a sacrifice, you're not allowed to use that for your personal use. It's called Me'ilah in the Torah. It's one of the 613 prohibitions in the Torah, not to misappropriate holy objects, things sanctified to the temple. And so we call our lights holy, even though it's not the temple. We don't have a temple. We call them Kodesh, meaning this is a commemoration of the ancient temple and the lights which the Maccabees lit in the temple. So we commemorate it. But we don't use it. The Talmud says the following. It says, if you take a coin out of your pockets and you want to see, is it a quarter or a nickel? Is it 1 cent or 5 cents? Is it a penny or a dime? Okay, I'll make it Israeli. Is it a shekel or a shnekel?
What is it?
Shnekel, 2 shekel coin. Shnei shekel, shnekel. Or is it a 5 shekel or a 10 shekel coin? And that you need some light to be able to see. So you take it over to the candles, and until 150 years ago, there was no electric lights. So the most natural thing is you want to pay money, you want to use money, you have to look into the candles. Use the candlelight. That's the example that the Talmud uses of not appropriate use of the Chanukiah. So from here we see that there's a connection of coins to Hanukkah. Maybe this is where the idea that you give Hanukkah gelt, you give money, coins to the children. I was at the supermarket yesterday. What are they selling for Hanukkah?
Candles.
Candles, of course. What else? Chocolate coins. This is the modern version. Even people give their kids chocolate coins instead of real coins. It's beautiful. Very sweet custom. Chocolate coins. That's where it comes from. The idea of Hanukkah gelt is that you give coins to your kids on Hanukkah. Maybe it's connected to, we don't use them for material. Coins is the material world. Money. That's mundane. The most mundane thing is money. We don't want to mix that with the spiritual essence of Hanukkah. So that's maybe the message of giving Hanukkah gelt to the children. Anyways, nowadays many people give gifts, toys. Right next to the candles in the supermarket, they were selling puzzles and robots, modern day toys. Because there's even some families have a custom of giving 8 different gifts. One for each night of Hanukkah. Nice. That's what you do? Very good. It's expensive, you're right. You want your kids to be happy to be Jews. So yeah, spend a little extra money. I had one uncle, a cousin who came for a Hanukkah party every year. And I only saw him once a year. It's like a distant cousin. And he came and gave all the children silver dollars. In America and in Canada, there's this concept. There's, of course, a dollar bill. They don't make them anymore. They would make a dollar coin out of real. The original ones were out of real silver, the right weight, the amount. But now, then they made. I don't think so. I don't think they make dollar coins anymore. But that was I might have them still somewhere. I have a few silver dollars. But this is the tradition of Hanukkah gelt. There's another tradition that I was going to tell you about, and that is, you mentioned playing dreidel. Sivivon. He doesn't mention that either. Maybe later on in the book. We haven't finished yet. There's 2 more chapters. So, what is this idea?
Nes Hayom.
So on the dreidel, on the sevivon, it has 4 letters. Nun, Gimel, Hey, Shin. In Israel, they changed the Shin to a Pei. The standard interpretation is that it stands for Nes Gadol Haya Sham, or Nes Gadol Haya Po. Nes Gadol, a great miracle, happened there. Most of Jewish history, the Jews were in exile. So they're saying, Nes Gadol Haya Sham. These are the and then you play a game with the children. You spin the dreidel, sevivon, top, and it falls on one side, and whatever letter it falls on, it shows face up. I'll bring some. I'll teach you how to play dreidel, okay? And usually you play dreidel for money. Yes, Jewish poker, man. And this is a very ancient tradition of the Jewish people that you play. Again, we have coins. It's so interesting how the coins make their way into the traditions about Hanukkah. There must be something about how really what we're trying to teach the children is the victory of the spirit over the material world, the physical side of things. But using with coin, I'll teach you how to play. I'll bring in some sevivonim, but you have to bring in the coins. We could do chocolate coins if you want. We could do.
You like it more.
Okay. Yeah. Who had a question? Ravid, go ahead.
I read something about why they played with the trial.
Yeah. What did you?
Because it was forbidden to learn Torah, so the kids they went to hide themselves. And when the soldiers came to control what the children are doing, they put away the Torah and they starting playing with the trident.
I heard that too. He does speak about this.
I have 2 other questions.
At a later point in the chapters, but I can't see it right now. But we'll see what he says about that soon. Yeah.
Maybe we already talked about this because I didn't have me here. Where we find back the story about this beautiful Jewish woman, Yehudit, when she killed the general.
We just read it on page 238.
We did.
Yesterday.
Okay.
So that's why it's a custom, even though you don't have to have a meal, and you don't have to have dairy, but there is a custom to eat dairy foods. So apparently she fed the general salty cheese.
Okay.
And that made him get thirsty for wine. And killed him after he fell asleep.
We also talked about the 7 sons of Hannah?
We didn't.
Okay.
We didn't. This is a famous midrash, but we'll talk about it another day. B'ezrat Hashem. Let's get started. Let's begin. Chapter 12. Okay? Chapter 12, that's page 241. The sages ordained lighting candles all 8 days of Hanukkah. By the way, candles, it says in the footnote, really nowadays a candle is like a wax candle. But the word ner in Hebrew originally meant the bowl in which you put the oil, and then you had a ptila, a wick coming out of it. In any case, both are kosher. We're going to see the details. The sages ordained lighting candles all 8 days of Hanukkah, which correspond to the days on which Jewish people celebrated and praised God for helping them defeat the Greeks, liberate Jerusalem, and purify the Holy Temple. It was on those days that the oil in the temple's menorah burned miraculously. Even though lighting Hanukkah candles is a rabbinic mitzvah, we recite a bracha over it. Ladlik ner shel Hanukkah. There's different versions. Some people leave out the word shel. One could seemingly ask, how can we say, this is for you, Pinchas, the last line, how can we say that God, turn the page, commanded us, when the written Torah does not contain such a commandment? And the answer is, why don't you read it, Pinchas? The answer is line 2 of page 242. The answer is
The Quran gives the scientists the authority to institute mitzvah within the guidelines of the Torah, as it states. You shall act in accordance with the instructions of Torah that they have given you, and the ruling and the command to you. You must not
deviate
from the way that is tell to you, as the right or the left. It also says, remember the days of old, consider the years of ages past. As your father, he will inform you, your elders, they will tell you those in order to remember that publicize the miracle that God performed on our behalf during the Second Temple era. The Saints instituted a mitzvah to light candles or 8 days of Hanukkah.
So who commanded us to light Hanukkah candles?
The sages.
The sages. What do we say in the bracha? Blessed are you, Lord our God, who commanded us with the mitzvah to light the candles. Who commanded us in the bracha?
Hashem.
Hashem. What's the solution? The answer is, if you look in the Torah tells you to follow the words of the sages.
Israel independent.
Yeah?
Also important.
Sure.
Yes, their mitzvah about the independent day.
Yes, there is a mitzvah to conquer the land of Israel. To conquer the land of Israel and live there, you have to have a leadership. You have to have a government. It's part of it. There's a mitzvah to make a king. Some say you have to have a king with a crown, but some say it just means any leadership. You have to have a leadership of the people. So
about common people. The common people must obey the mitzvah.
So they have to listen to the leader, correct? But here we're talking about specifically the elders who make mitzvot. Right? So this is the religious leadership. You're right. There's also a mitzvah of political leadership, but religious leadership is what we're talking about here. And the rabbis instituted a new mitzvah. Perhaps that's the point of Hanukkah. These new rabbinic mitzvot, which started with the period of Hanukkah, that the rabbis instituted, and the Torah gave them the permission, the authority. You shall act in accordance with the instructions. What does Torah mean? Torah means instruction. What does Torah mean? When we learn Torah, okay, it means the 5 books. It means all of the Talmud.
Yes.
Yes, it means this class. This is a Torah class. There's many different meanings to the word Torah. If you remember, there's a page I gave you, which had the meanings in there.
I saw what you say yesterday about the Yahudim, they are the Torah.
It's through the Yehudim. That's right. The Torah comes through the Jewish people. That's the secret of the oral Torah. In this case, we're talking about the instructions of the sages. And it's called Torah. Vasita alpi atorah asher yorucha. The Torah which they command you. So the word Torah comes from yorucha, instruction. The Torah is instruction. That's why many people translate the Torah as the law. Right? The law of Moses. Right? Torat Moshe. It's a little bit strange to us because we know that there's so much more than law. There's also history and theology and philosophy and ethics and values and legends. So Torah is much more. But the translation of the law of Moshe, the Torah of Moshe, is not wrong, because the original meaning of the word Torah is instruction, which tells you what to do, guidelines, right? So
The commandment.
commandments, that's right, commandments. You're instructed to do the commandments. You're commanded to do. You're instructed to do.
Teaching.
Same thing. Also teaching. But the original meaning is very close to that. So the rabbis are supposed to give you instruction. They're supposed to give you Torah. And so they did. And they said, make Hanukkah and light Hanukkah candles. Okay? Women are obligated in this mitzvah as well. Can you see where I'm reading? On page 242. Second paragraph. Women are obligated in this mitzvah just as men. Why?
Yeah.
They are. Why? Why not? Why would you think women should not be obligated?
Because it's time limiting, isn't it?
It's
Time limiting.
good.
Limiting.
There's a rule that any mitzvah which is time limited or time bound, it's usually what we use, time bound mitzvot, women are not obligated. Makes sense. Women taking care of the children. Children cries. Children needs a diaper changed. How can you say you have to do this right away? But so you have to light Hanukkah candles at a specific time. We're going to deal. What exactly is the time? So women should be exempt. Women should not be obligated. And it says women are obligated. Why? Let's keep reading. Even though it is a time-bound positive mitzvah from which women are usually exempt, they are nonetheless obligated. Why? Because women were involved in the miracle.
Because of that.
Who? How were the women involved in the miracle? Yehudit. One answer is she was the heroine, like Rabbi mentioned, that she cut off the head of the Greek general, but also because they were persecuted. In the other class, we learned about that the women were not allowed to go to the mikvah, and they maybe had to go to the governor to sleep with him, and all the other persecution, they were not allowed to keep Shabbat or to keep the Rosh Chodesh. That applied to men as equally to women. So if they were part of the salvation, they were saved, just like the men were. So the miracle happened to them, and so that's why women are obligated, just like men, in lighting Hanukkah candles. We'll see later on, he says in chapter, there is a discussion. Married women, there is a custom that they light through their husbands. The husband lights for the household and for the wife. But my wife, she likes to light, many years she didn't light her own Hanukkah. But in recent years, she wants to light her own Hanukkah. There's nothing wrong with that. She's obligated. She can say a bracha, just like men. And so we have 2 Chanukiot. Ashkenazi custom,
Also for the children.
everybody lights a Chanukiah, so why not women? Women too, and daughters too. Daughters, she grew up lighting a Chanukiah. This is the Ashkenazi custom. Sephardim, only 1 Chanukiah for the whole household. Even the men don't light. Nowadays, there's many customs amongst the Sephardim too, because everybody likes to do their own. Everybody likes to feel they want to do the mitzvah. But really, the original Sephardic custom is that there's only 1 Chanukiah in the entire house.
I didn't know
The head of the household. For everybody, men, women, children, 1 Chanukiah.
I learned every person has his own Hanukkah.
Of course, you're Ashkenazi. In the Ashkenazi world, that's what we do, of course. That's how I grew up, and that's my wife grew up, and that's what we do.
Even the children.
Everybody lights their own Hanukkah, even the children. It's good education to get them involved. The problem is with little girls, is it good education? If when they grow up they're going to get married, then they're going to not light their own Hanukkah. They'll light with their husbands. But the common custom is that little girls light. And after marriage, I think there's many different customs. Some married women just rely on their husbands lighting, and but there is quite a few women who light their own Hanukkah.
What about the single men, the students, and because they are not married, they don't have a wife to burn the candles.
Of course, so they have a personal obligation. Every person should light their own Hanukkah, for sure. Yeah.
I had a question with this. It's like that mitzvah. It's connected. How to say that? It's why the lady? What if the husband is, if the lady is under husband and he's lightening it, how is that connected to the sacrifice? Is that some kind of connection with the...
No, nothing to do with sacrifice.
Like, because it's the remembering. Oh, it is not a biblical. So can we unbiblical holidays try to find the reason in the like?
Well, as I mentioned, we do the pattern a little bit. We do mention the temple, menorah in the temple. Yeah. Menorah in the temple was only a Kohen, but here we have it in everybody's house. So, but there is an element, we'll get to it, about some of the laws of Hanukkah suggested by the holiness of the candles is connected to the holiness of the candles in the temple. Okay, let's go on. We have to go a little bit quicker because we have to cover ground. And so, today we have a special class.
Yeah.
Next at 11 o'clock, it's a special class. We're going to be studying all together the entire English department in the Ulam Smachot, in the social hall. Today, after this class. Okay? You'll stay? No. You have to go.
After class, I will go to the bunker.
Why don't you go at 12? They're still open at 12. Stay from 11 to 12 to study with Oh, okay. It's up to you. Anyways, let's continue. Page 242. The purpose of all the laws the sages instituted regarding where and when to light the Hanukkah candles is to publicize the miracle. So here this is the basic rationale. The fundamental goal of lighting candles is to publicize the miracle. How, what, where, when? It all comes from the basic goal. The candles are designed to publicize the miracle. Therefore, they require that one light candles near the door or in front of a window facing a main thoroughfare so that passerby can see the candle. It's an S missing. They also determined that one should light the candles after Shkia. What's Shkia? Sunset. When the maximum number of people will see them. On one hand, darkness has already begun to descend, making the lights more visible. On the other hand, it is early enough that the streets are still filled with people coming home from work. So we have a short window. We're going to see the details exactly in chapter 13, where and when to light. There's many details, but there is a short window when it begins to get dark. Candles.
Beginning of the night.
Beginning of the night, exactly. The beginning of the night. Late at night, not so good. So, publicizing the miracle, however, is not a prerequisite for fulfilling the mitzvah. Even a Jew who lives alone in a deserted area must light the candles in order to remind himself of the miracle. We're sometimes so aware of publicizing outside, we forget ourselves. The value of this mitzvah is so great that even a poor man who cannot afford to buy candles must panhandle or sell his clothes to buy Hanukkah candles. Luckily, they're very cheap nowadays. I think in the supermarket they were selling a package of candles. Was it 5 shekels?
Really?
Very cheap. Maybe I'm wrong, but very cheap. The halacha does not demand that one beg or sell his clothes for the sake of other mitzvot. But since this mitzvah involves publicizing the miracle, the obligation is greater. It's a special category of mitzvot, which are designed to publicize. And therefore, it's a very special mitzvah. However, a poor person need not perform the mitzvah of the mahadrin. It's sufficient for him to light one candle each night. The number of candles, let's go to number 2 on page 243. The number of candles and the mahadrin, mahadrin practice. Okay?
We need to bring the light outside to the world, right?
Correct.
So this is why we put the Hanukkah at the window.
Correct.
Just imagine we don't have a window, we can put it at the front door, just the other side of the menorah.
The original of the mezuzah, yeah. The original custom was at the door, yes. The original door was
between 30 centimeters and 1 meter.
We'll get to those details. We'll get to that. The mitzvah of lighting Hanukkah candles is very beloved. He's quoting the Rambam, who writes that. In general, there are 2 levels of mitzvah observance. The fulfillment of the basic obligation. I believe I taught you this word yesterday. And mehadrin. Going beyond the basics to beautify the mitzvah. Mehadrin means to beautify. When it comes to Hanukkah candle, however, there are 3 levels. The basic obligation, Mehadrin, and Mehadrin, Mina Mehadrin, the most beautiful way. Moreover, all of Israel fulfills this mitzvah according to the practice of Mehadrin, Min HaMehadrin, the most beautiful way to do the mitzvah. It's a fascinating feature of Hanukkah. Everybody becomes a rabbi. Everybody becomes a pious holy man. Because if you were just a simple standard performance, 1 candle every night, that's it. Everybody knows you do 1 candle and 2 candles the second night, 3rd candle. This is the 3rd highest, the highest level of the 3. Minimally, he says, every household must light 1 candle every night of Hanukkah on behalf of all the household members. This 1 candle, enables them to remember and publicize the miracle of Hanukkah. If today you'd see someone do that, you come over to their house, there's 10 children, you walk into the house and they say, it's the 3rd night of Hanukkah. And they all gather near the head of the household, 10 children, and they're guests. And he takes 1 candle, and he lights it. It says, Baruch Ata Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam, Shekishem Tzivasenu, V'Adlik Nei Shel Chanukah, Baruch Ata Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam, She'aseh Nisim L'Avoteinu B'Yamim Ha'eh B'Zman Hazeh. You all enter amen, and he lights 1 candle. That's it. What would you think? I think he's cheap.
10.
1 candle for 10 people on the 3rd night of Hanukkah? There's 2 levels to beautify. 2 ways to beautify the mitzvah. One level is, well, if there's 10 people in the house, he should light 10 candles. 1 for each member of the household. That's what the Rabbi says. Nowadays, everybody lights their own, but the point is that if there's 10 people, there's going to be 10 Chanukiot. That's one level of beautification, is to have 10 candles for the 10 people in the house. But the Mehadrin, Min HaMehadrin, we add a 2nd level of beautification, and that is, on the 1st night we do 1, 2nd night 2, 2nd night 3, and therefore, what do you expect this person to be lighting on the 3rd night of Hanukkah? 30 candles. Right?
Wow.
There's 2 ways to enhance the mitzvah. One is multiply by the number of people. And one is to multiply by the number of nights of Hanukkah, increasing nights, right? 1 times 1 on the 1st night, 1 times 2 on the 2nd night, 1 times 3 on the 2nd night. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? 8 candles on the 8th night. But that's only one level of enhancement, multiplying by the number of nights. There's another level of multiplying by the people in the household. So if there's 10 people in the household, on the last night of Hanukkah, 80. That's what we do. If we have 10 people in our house, there's going to be 8 Chanukiot, each one with 8 candles. 10 Chanukiot with 8 candles. That's 80 candles. Let's see it inside. He says, those who go above and beyond this Mehadrin light 1 candle for every adult member of the household. For example, if 4 adults live in the house, they light 4 candles every night of Hanukkah, demonstrating that everyone has a share in the mitzvah. Those who follow the custom of Mehadrin, Mina Mehadrin, the highest level, the 3rd level, light a different number of candles each night of Hanukkah. The sages disputed the number of candles that one must light according to this custom. According to Beit Shammai, you heard of them?
Yes.
We light 8 candles on the 1st night and subtract 1 candle every subsequent night, eventually lighting 1 candle on the last night. According to this viewpoint, the number of candles correspond to the number of days remaining in the holiday of Hanukkah. On the 1st night we light 8 because there are 8 days left in the holiday. And on the last night we light 1 candle because there's only 1 day left. According to Beit Hillel, everybody knows we paskin. The halacha follows. Beit Hillel, we light 1 candle on the 1st night and add a candle each subsequent night. eventually lighting 8 candles on the last night. According to them, the number of candles correspond to the number of days that have already passed. That is, every night we light candles according to the number of days the miracle lasted. This way we demonstrate the magnitude of the miracle. Because every additional day that the Hasmoneans lit the menorah in the temple using the same small cruse of oil, the miracle increased. In addition, this method allows us to ascend in holiness until we reach the pinnacle on the 8th night, when we light 8 candles. All of Israel has accepted the custom of Madrin Mina Madrin, according to Beit Hillel's interpretation. What emerges in practice is, how many candles do you need? Sum total.
45. 36.
We light 36 candles over the course of 8 days of Hanukkah. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8 is 36. The prevalent custom, though, is to light an additional candle every night to serve as a shamash, literally attendant, so that if one needs to use light of the candles, he may use the light of the shamash. Also, we use the shamash to light all the candles. If you don't have an oil shamash, if you have a wax shamash, you can use it to light. Otherwise, you could just use a match. But we leave a 9th candle on the Chanukiah so that it's always lit. After all, one may not derive benefit from the Hanukkah candles. However, we separate the shamash from the other candles because the main objective of the custom of Madrin Mina Madrin is to make the number of candles recognizable and thus demonstrate the increasing magnitude of the miracle. If you have 2 candles that are on the same level or right next to each other on the same height, on the first night, someone's going to see your candles. He's going to say, "Oh, it's the 2nd night of Hanukkah. I see there's 2 candles." So we have to separate them a little bit to the eye so that they don't look like it's 2 candles. It's 1 candle and a shamash. Next night we have 2 candles and a shamash.
But the shamash is also a new candle the next night, no?
Well, it has to light. You have to have some oil, or you have to have some. You can have 1 shamash, very, very long. Use it for a few minutes every day. That's fine. The custom is that we light a shamash as long as the actual candles are lit. So pretty much it gets used up. Just like your regular candles get used, the mitzvah candles get used, so too the shamash gets used up. So the next day you need a new shamash.
But then you have 45 candles.
Exactly. Exactly. 36 plus 8 is 44. 44 candles.
44, yeah.
44. Those boxes come with 44 candles. Am I right?
I saw this on the internet yesterday, it says 45.
You tell me 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5, 6, 7. It's 36. And then you need 8 more for Shamashim. 36 plus 8 is 44. What do you need a 45th for? It's 45? 44.
Yes, 44.
44. Maybe they give you a 1 for good luck.
So always 1 break.
That one is always going to break, exactly.
Yes.
We are also going to talk about the different, how to say it, you can put the candles from the left.
That we're going to talk
right,
exactly,
left.
exactly. We are going to
We
talk.
are coming there?
Yes, we are going to talk about it. We have another.
Customs are very different.
Yes, not very different, but yeah, there are different customs. Let's keep going. The Sephardic custom. There are different traditions regarding how to fulfill the custom of Mahadrin Menachem in practice. I'm on page 244, at number 3. According to the Sephardic tradition, the main way of beautifying the mitzvah is to light the number of candles that corresponds to the current day of Hanukkah. Even if there are many people living in one home, only one of them should light the Hanukkah candles. And he should light the number of candles correspond to the current day of the holiday. That is, he lights 1 candle on the first night, 2 on the second, 8 on the 8th. The reason for this is that the goal of the custom is to show how many days the miracle lasted, as this publicizes the miracle more. If everyone in the house were to light candles within the small space adjacent to the doorway, passers-by would not be able to recognize which day it is, because everyone's candles would appear co-joined and confuse the tally. Since according to this custom only one person lights, it is proper for the head of the household to light on behalf of everyone else. If the children ask to light candles, their parents may let them light their own Hanukkah candles, as long as they are careful to create a separation with each individual menorah. According to the custom of most Sfaradim, children who light Hanukkah candles do not recite a bracha, but Rav Mordechai Eliyahu ruled that children under the age of bar mitzvah may recite a bracha. Rabbi Shalom Mashas ruled that if someone over the age of bar mitzvah wants to recite a bracha, he should have in mind not to fulfill his obligation through his father's lighting, and may then beautify the mitzvah by lighting the candles with a bracha. According to the Ashkenazic custom, I'm continuing, each member of a household must light his own candles in order to fulfill the mitzvah of Mahadrin Mina Mahadrin. That is, on the first night everyone lights one candle, and then on the eighth night everyone then lights 8. We're not concerned that onlookers will not know how many candles are being lit on any given night, because we're careful to separate the various menorahs. Children who have reached the age of education, approximately the age of 6, when they begin to understand the story of the miracle. I'm on page 247, and the mitzvah to light candles, light with a bracha. Children, as soon as they're old enough, my grandson, 3 years old, he lights his own Chanukiah. It's a game for him, but it's training. We hold his hand, we help him. Candles are dangerous.
It's very exciting, I think.
Of course he's excited.
On the last day, everyone lights 8.
Yes.
Even though you have 10 members in your...
Yeah, we have 10 Chanukiyot. 80 candles.
80 candles.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
You're in the wrong business.
So in my house, like I said, I light my Chanukiah near my door. And my wife lights usually near the window. And if the children are home, so they choose. Some of them light near the door with me, some near the window like her, sometimes. But there's enough room to make space so that there are 8 or 10 Chanukiyot, however many people are at home.
You need to show us a picture.
Sure. Bezat Hashem, I'll try to take a picture. This Shabbat, Hanukkah, on this Shabbat they're coming, not on Shabbat Hanukkah. The prevalent custom among married women is not to light their Hanukkah candles because their husband's lighting is considered like theirs. There's a principle in the Talmud that says one's wife is like himself. Ishto kegufo. In many homes, young women and girls who have reached the age of education also do not light. Nevertheless, they may light with a bracha if they wish. It seems better to encourage young girls who have reached the age of education to light candles, at least until they become bat mitzvah, as lighting Hanukkah candles connects them to Torah and mitzvah. Every child wants to participate. If they wish to continue lighting afterwards, they should be commended. Even a woman whose husband lights candles may light her own candles with a bracha if she wishes, despite the custom to refrain from doing so. You can see in the footnote many precedents of great rabbis who allowed the married women to light their own Chanukiah. And I gave you a story about one rabbi that you know, whose wife lights her own Chanukiah. Exactly. Next, section 5. Turn the page to page 248. How many positive mitzvot are there in the Torah?
254.
248. Plus.
This page, 248. 248. The brachot. The sages prescribed that we say 2 brachot. We said that already. The first bracha relates to the mitzvah itself. The Ashkenazic formulation of this bracha concludes lahadlik ner shel Chanukah, while Sfaradim conclude lahadlik ner Chanukah. They take out the word shel. I'm on line 6 by footnote 3.
Yes.
The second bracha expresses our thanks to God for the miracles He performed on behalf of our ancestors when the story of Hanukkah took place. The sages enacted that we recite this bracha when we light the candles, because the candles are supposed to remind us of the miracles, And their meaning, we recite Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam she'asa nisim la'avoteinu b'yamim hahem b'zaman hazeh. On the first day, we add the bracha Shechianu, which expresses our thanks to God for giving us life and sustaining us for another year, giving us the privilege to once again reach the days of Hanukkah and fulfill the mitzvah of lighting the candles. Just yesterday, I saw the funeral. I buried a great man. A great man was a teacher of mine in Toronto who passed away yesterday. He will not be able to recite the Shechianu and the Hanukkah candles this year. A great, great rabbi. I learned so much from him. Rabbi Pinchas Brumer, may our words of Torah be in memory, in honor of his neshama. He should have a aliyat neshama. Appreciate every year you get to light the candles. Say the Shechianu with great intention. Immediately following the brachot, you hear this? Following the brachot, you say all the brachot. On the first day 3, the rest of the nights 2 brachot. Then you light the candles without talking between completing the brachot and beginning to light. After the first candle is lit, it is customary to start reciting Hanerot Halalu. We're going to talk about what that paragraph is in a minute. While reciting this paragraph, one continues lighting the remaining candles. Even though more candles still need to be lit, reciting Hanerot Halalu does not constitute an interruption. As we already learned, the minimal obligation of the mitzvah is fulfilled by lighting the first candle, while the purpose of the remaining candles is to beautify the mitzvah. Even though lechatchila one should refrain from speaking until after all the candles are lit, since Hanerot Halalu explains the purpose of the mitzvah, there is room to say that one should recite it specifically while fulfilling the mitzvah. However, one who finds it difficult to recite Hanerot Halalu while lighting the candles may recite it afterwards. Does anybody here think they'll have difficulty doing 2 things at the same time? Lighting the remaining candles, or if there's 8 candles on the 8th night, you can light the first candle, and then while you're lighting the other candles, recite Hanerot Halalu. Would that be difficult for you? Why?
Yes, we are men. We can do this.
Not because we're men, but because what? Because you don't know it off by heart yet. Right? You don't know Hanerot Halalu off by heart. You have to read it from the Siddur. You can't read it from the Siddur and light at the same time. That's dangerous. So it's fine. You can light all 8 candles, or 3 candles, 4 candles, whatever it is, and only then recite Hanerot Halalu. But don't think that because you finish the brachot, you finish the mitzvah. Say the brachot, light the candles, and then you have to recite the passage Hanerot Halalu. Let's look it up inside. Take a siddur, everybody. Turn to the lighting of the Hanukkah candles on page 1000. Actually, it's 981. 981. Page 981. Actually, 982. Turn to page, we'll start with the page 980. 980. You see the brachot? 3 brachot. The last one is Shechianu. You see that? Don't forget to turn the page. After these 3 brachot, turn the page. Look at the top of page 982. Will you read it for us in English, please, Eitan?
We light these lights.
Before that, what does it say in the top line? Before that? Yeah, that's right. You see that? You see that? It's very small. It says, after lighting the first light, say the following 2 paragraphs. It's very long. So if you don't know it off by heart, don't say it after lighting one candle. Light after you've lit all 3 candles, all 4 candles, whatever it is on that night. Light all your candles, but then you must say this. You must keep a siddur with you so that you can recite this. What does it say, Eitan? Hanero talalu.
We light these lights because of the miracles and wonders, deliverances and victories you performed for our ancestors in those days. At this time, through your holy priest, throughout the 8 days of Hanukkah, these lights are holy, and we are not permitted to make any other use of them, except to look at them, that we may give thanks and praise to you, great name, your miracles and wonders and your deliverance.
Tomorrow I'm going to teach you a song, how to sing it. Maybe that way you'll learn it off by heart, and you'll be able to do it while you light the other lights. But this is, you're going to be saying it 8 days in a row. If you sing it 8 days in a row, you might actually learn the song. There's a few standard tunes. We'll start them tomorrow. And then there's other things you should say. But really, don't confuse. This one is an obligation. You must say that after lighting the candles. Beseder, we will learn the song and the other things people do around before lighting candles, after lighting candles. As you can see, there's a few more songs here. We'll do that, Bezat Hashem, tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Don't be late. Don't be late. Ravid. Bezrat Hashem, we'll see you tomorrow.
So this is one